do that. I am starting a new class this Wednesday. I'm titling it From Genesis to Jesus. It is a 6-week overview of the Hebrew Scriptures, and it is on Wednesdays from 1 to 3 p.m., beginning August 2nd. That is this week. Today we continue our series on the 12 Powers, which was originally the book written by Charles Fillmore, and a more current version has been written by Paul Hasselbeck, and we are using the Hasselbeck book for this series. There are books available on the side table so that you can read up and see how far off the mark I am. I do kind of stray sometimes. And today we're actually going to cover Zeal and Elimination. By the time I finished my talk on zeal, I was so full of enthusiasm that I had to do elimination as well, so I couldn't stop. Practical Christianity is what Charles and Myrtle Fillmore called their movement. It is supposed to be a way to make your life better. And they used metaphysical rather than literal interpretation of the Bible. So using that symbolic interpretation, just as Jesus had 12 disciples, the Christ of your being has 12 faculties or powers to assist you in becoming the best person that you can be. So zeal is the ability to be enthusiastic, passionate, inspirational, and motivational based on ideas, truths, principles, and laws that are of divine nature. We use zeal to enthusiastically be the best person and Christ we can be. I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm, and I spring forth with a mighty faith to do the things that need to be done by me. This quote of Charles Fillmore was not taken from any of his books or his writings or his sermons. It was found by his bedside when he made his transition at the age of 96. It was handwritten on a piece of paper and framed, and that little frame stood on his nightstand. I can imagine that at the age of 96, he felt that he needed some help with enthusiasm. So it's just such a wonderful example. I like to think of zeal as being in the zone. You know, when you're in the zone, you're just so enthusiastic, that's all that's going on. You're not afraid, you're not anxious, you're not stressed. Nothing really bothers you because you're just so wrapped up in what it is that you're excited about. Now, at the personality level, not the spiritual level, but at the personality level, we all experience some kind of downer. It can be just fuzzy thinking, or you can be mourning the loss of something or someone that was dear to you. You can be just depressed or frustrated, or you can be worrying. Now, the difference between being sad and being depressed. When you are sad, it means that you know why you are sad. You have lost a loved one or a pet or a job, or you're in an unhappy life situation, or you've lost your home, had to move for some reason, and you're sad about it. If you can say why you are unhappy, that is sadness. Depression, on the other hand, it's hard to put your finger on. Somebody will notice that you're depressed and say, well, what's the matter? And you'll say, I don't know. It doesn't seem to have a specific cause. It very often relates to low self-esteem. Everybody has some periods of feeling down that lasts, a day or two. But if it lasts more than that, if it lasts 2 weeks or more, then you're talking about clinical depression, and you probably should get some kind of help. At the personality level, the other extreme is being impulsive. This is overdeveloped zeal. It causes you to jump in where wise men fear to tread, wisely so. It even, people who are ruthless, who go forward that the end always justifies the means. That is a ruthlessness that is a sign of an overdeveloped, zealous personality. Zeal actually has 2 stages, just like a 2-stage rocket. The first stage of the rocket gets the payload off the Earth and builds up enough speed that it can begin to go into orbit. And then that first stage drops away, and the second stage of the rocket carries it the rest of the way into orbit. So for zeal, phase 1, it gets you excited enough that you're willing to start a project, that you're willing to inspire other people to come along with you and participate. It gives you enough enthusiasm that you're willing to make that leap of faith. But then that is not going to ever be permanent. The second phase of zeal is the courage to continue, to hang in there, to finally reach the goal. So the first stage is getting excited about the process. When Charles Fillmore wrote this affirmation and put it on his nightstand, he was not in the first phase. He was in the second phase. He was planting fields that he would not harvest, and he knew that. But he was still zealous enough to continue with the process. Zeal uses the power of emotion. So I said to myself, what pictures can I get from the internet that show strong emotion? And I thought of marriage proposals. That's usually pretty emotional. The lady usually is feeling overwhelmed, speechless. There are tears of joy. Or not. But the interesting thing about all these pictures, what do all these pictures have in common? They all have their hands up like this. Why is that? Well, because when you're in a state of strong emotion, you're not thinking. And you're not talking because you're not thinking. You're in a state where nothing is computing. The emotion is so strong, it just overwhelms everything. And the same thing is true when people are frightened, when they're startled. They put their hands up to their face. Or in romance novels, they clutch their pearls. Put their hands up. But that is stage 1. For stage 2, you need power and strength. The 2 other of the 12 powers that you need are power and strength. For instance, a high school student has written to a number of colleges seeking admission. They get the letter that's saying that not only have they been granted admission, but they've been offered a scholarship, for instance. So that is the first stage when they're just all excited about it and they're all enthusiastic. But, it's a 4-year process. And it's going to take some, stick-to-itiveness. Stick-to-itiveness. I just read an article, this is just chance, I just read this article that says that the top athletes and the business people who achieve amazing goals, they set their goal, but they don't focus all of their energy on the goal. They focus energy on the process. They remind themselves all throughout the process, I choose this. You don't have to do anything. Everything you do is what you have chosen to do. You don't have to go to work. You just choose to be a working person because you want to pay your bills. You don't have to go to the store. You can just sit at home and not eat. Everything that you do is because you have chosen it. And remembering that puts a different feel to the ongoing everyday push that you need. And the article even said, I love when these articles, these self-help articles, just parrot what Unity has been teaching for 150 years. Tell yourself, I love this. Even when it's hard, even when you have to push, tell yourself, I love this. I love this process, because that will keep you with enough emotional juice that you will make it through to the end. And on the spiritual level, we use affirmations. When we're doing maybe things that aren't our first choice, but nevertheless always our choice, but our second choice, remind yourself, like that wonderful song that we sing, I am an instrument of the divine. So the way that we achieve this is with these affirmations and in meditation. One of our principles is, I know the laws of truth, and I live the truth I know. This is, we affirm this over and over so that it becomes part of our mindset. Another song that we sing, I am awake, aware, alive, and enthusiastic. That is a wonderful affirmation. Enthusiasm comes from the Greek word, I can't pronounce it, I guess it's enthusiasmos, and it means to be inspired or possessed by God. Enthusiasm. So as I said, I did this work on zeal, and then I was so enthusiastic that I decided to jump right into the next power, which is elimination. Release, elimination, or renunciation. The color for this is russet, which is kind of like a reddish brown. So I think some of you, in attempting to wear orange, actually wound up with russet. So you're right with us. The ability to release, remove, renounce, deny, and let go based on ideas, truths, principles, and laws that are divine in nature. We use elimination to let go of anything that interferes with these ideas or erroneously uses divine laws and principles. We use elimination to let go of old beliefs or embedded theology and aspects of our personality that hinder being the best Christ that we can be. Another quote from Charles Fillmore, thoughts are things. They occupy space in the mental field. A healthy state of mind is attained and continued when the thinker willingly lets go of the old thoughts and takes on the new. At the personality level, you can have absolutely no elimination. that comes generally from a fear of change. Let's just keep everything the way it is. In fact, let's just keep everything. The other end of the spectrum, the pendulum swinging to the far other end, is a fear of commitment. So that the person is always on the move, both physically and emotionally. The underdeveloped elimination results in things like hoarding. And the overdeveloped elimination is wasting money. Years ago, I said, there is nothing more useless than unspent money. But I was young and foolish. Someone who goes from job to job has an overdeveloped sense of elimination. But our burning bowl ceremony is at the spiritual level. It's a beautiful example of letting go. When we sit down and we write on paper what it is we want to release, and take it and burn it in the burning bowl. Another aspect of this is that in order to say yes, you want your good, but in order to say yes to your good, you have to be able to say no. You have to be able to eliminate. And this is true for every aspect of your life. In order to say yes, you have to say no. For instance, when the alarm goes off in the morning, if you say no to getting up, then you can sleep. You have to say no. If you are on a diet and you are tempted, then you have to say yes to your diet and cut back on what you eat, or you can say yes to making the exception. That's my downfall, is I'm on the diet, but I do make exceptions. But every time I make the exception, I'm saying yes to the exception. I'm actually saying no to my diet. So release, elimination, or renunciation at the spiritual level means that we let go of those thoughts that are not for our highest good, so that we can have a mind that is in tune with our highest self. So I'm going to give you the secret to releasing error thoughts. It's one thing to say, well, I'm going to let go my error thoughts. Well, how do you do that? It's very hard not to think about something. If you decide you're not going to think about something, pretty soon that's all you're thinking about. So here is the secret. You envision what you want. You affirm your Christ self. You don't just say, I'm not going to think about having a slice of cake. You say, I'm going to think about how good I'm going to feel when I have lost weight. I'm going to think about that I love myself enough to take care of myself. You have the thoughts and the images of what you want, rather than trying to resist. That's why Jesus said, resist not evil. You don't resist evil, you focus on the good. At the spiritual level, we have been raised in a society, whether or not you had a strong religious upbringing or no religious upbringing, embedded in your mind is this idea of God as an omnipotent judge and you as a miserable sinner. And the two things are very separate. However, when you come to unity, you learn that there is one power and one presence. And that power and presence, being everywhere, is within you. However, the subconscious image of yourself as being separate from God and as being a miserable sinner is still lurking in your subconscious. You know, this is why the traditional way to pray is to bow your head. Why? Because God is up there. We're down here. But we don't bow our heads in unity. We say, let's get centered. Because we know that each of us is a manifestation of God. In A Course in Miracles, it is phrased this way, that God created us by extending herself, that every person is God individualized. So, some common error thoughts that we want to counteract, we want to say no to these so that we can say yes to our good, is I'm not good enough, or I am weak, or there's not enough, or I am not loved, or I am not lovable. There's really only about a dozen basic error thoughts that get in the way of our spiritual good. And everybody has them. In other words, if you have 100 people and you have a list of these 12 or however many, 10, 12 common error thoughts, you will find that if you take a poll, that the same things come up over and over again. So whatever your particular dominant subconscious error belief that keeps cropping up in your life, whatever it is, you can be sure that most of the people you meet have that same problem. Which brings us to the term denial. When Charles and Myrtle Fillmore were doing their teaching and writing, gay meant cheerful. It has acquired another meaning in the modern day. When they were teaching, denial meant to say no. It did not mean that they did not have yet the pop psychology idea that to be in denial is to pretend that you don't have a problem. So when we say a denial, we are talking about to deny responsibility or to deny access or to deny yourself something. There were 3 persons who woke up in hell: a rabbi, a priest, and a unity minister. And the rabbi looked at the priest and said, "Father, I'm shocked to see you here. You had a huge congregation of people who really loved you." And the priest said, "Yes, and I love them back. But some of them I loved in the wrong way. And here I am. But I'm surprised to see you here, Rabbi, because you had a huge synagogue that was very prosperous." And the rabbi said, "Yes, it was so prosperous that some of that prosperity wound up in my bank account. So here I am." And then they both looked at the unity minister. Of course, they didn't express any surprise to see him there. But they were polite and they said, "So, how did you get here?" And the unity minister said, "This is not hell and I am not hot." So this, change your mind, change your life. I passed out, I'm going to give you, I didn't pass those out. I'm going to give you, when we do the collection, H. Emily Cady's list of sort of all-purpose denials. There is no evil, there is no absence of life, substance, or intelligence anywhere. Pain, sickness, poverty, old age, and death cannot master me, for they are not real. There is nothing in all the universe for me to fear, for greater is he that is within me than he that is in the world. And then when those error thoughts are released, then she is open to the truth, and these are the truths that she affirms. That God is life, love, intelligence, substance, omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence. and I'm a child or manifestation of God. And every moment his love, wisdom, and power flow into and through me. I am one with God, and I am governed by his law. I am spirit, perfect, holy, and harmonious. Nothing can hurt me or make me sick or afraid. For spirit is God, and God cannot be sick, hurt, or afraid. I manifest my real self through this body now. God works in me to will and to do whatsoever he wishes me to do, and he cannot fail. So we have two sets of affirmations for our closing. First is the affirmations for zeal together. I claim zeal now. I use zeal to be passionate and enthusiastic about being the best person and the best Christ I can be. I claim elimination now. I deny and eliminate anything that I have empowered to hinder my being the best person and the best Christ I can be. Amen, so be it, and so it is.